Hello, and welcome back to Williams Educational Consultants. I am Wendy Williams, founder of Williams Educational, and today I'm honored to have Brittany Cortinas, who is with the SALT program at the University of Arizona. Brittany, thank you so much for being here today.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you became a member of the SALT program.
So it kind of was happenstance, honestly. I graduated from the University of Arizona with a degree in creative writing and a minor in marketing. I'm an alumni of Tucson with no real plans to leave Tucson because this is where my whole family is. And after I graduated, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but had done the Disney College program in my junior year of college. So I went to Florida for about 7 months. And then I came back to campus and I recruited for the college program. And I had so much fun interacting with students. So after I graduated, I worked for Geico, honestly, for about 10 years before I realized that insurance was not the thing I wanted to do. And I realized I remembered, I should say, how much I enjoyed recruiting on working with college students specifically. So I started looking at the University of Arizona because that's the best place to work with students here in Tucson. And I actually found the College of Science, and I was their recruiter for about a year and a half. And I loved it. And it was always really funny getting to introduce myself to students as a person with a degree in creative writing, because all the parents would go, hmm. But I just said, it just means you can do anything with a U of A degree because I'm a creative writing major with a job. And then the SALT program opened up. So I realized about 2 years ago, I had undiagnosed ADHD and went my whole college career without any support. And honestly, it took me about 6 years to finish just because between changing my major and just kind of being unfocused, it took me a little longer. So when I found the SALT Center, and they had an opening for recruiters, I jumped on that because I just was so excited to work with students who struggle with the same things I've struggled with. And I want to make sure there isn't a student who doesn't know about the SALT Center. So I'm really working on pushing ourselves out everywhere.
Well, you're doing a great job. I will say here in Georgia, one of the things that I feel like a lot of my clients know is the SALT Center. It is one of the strongest programs in the nation, correct? For
It
supporting
is.
students. Now, is it one of the programs that really started the basis for real support in the collegiate setting?
Is yes. So we've actually been around since 1980. So we are one of the founding programs, and we've really built ourselves up to being the keystone of what support should be in a college setting. And there are a lot of schools that really base what they're doing around what we're doing. And I think we're the ones doing it to the biggest capacity in the country, just because we have been doing it for so long. So I don't want to discredit other universities because they're trying, but we are doing it to the largest capacity than anyone in the country as well.
Well, it feels good, I'm sure, to be that leader in the industry where people are coming to you, those institutions, and saying, how has it worked well in your area of expertise? And Arizona is huge.
It is.
How many students, tell our viewers, actually
Uh,
attend undergraduate?
so So we have, I believe, 45,000 undergrads, I believe. And then we also have our grad program. We have a med school here as well, but that's specifically our undergrad program.
Amazing. So, what are the services that are offered by the SALT Center?
So we have three main tiers of service. Number one, every single one of our students gets a support specialist that they meet with every single week. It's a support specialist who will support them all 4 years if they choose to be with SALT all 4 years. So they get to know them, they get to know what it is that brought them here, what is it they want to do. And then their support specialists, who they call their parent away from home, they help them with anything from that transition from high school to college, which can be really jarring. They'll help them with time management and organization, really focusing on practicing executive function. They're really going to focus on self-advocacy, mostly trying to make our students empowered to move through college. And or if they just want to complain about their roommate for half an hour and they want someone to listen to them, their support specialist is there.
That
We also do, oh, go ahead.
no, that's fantastic. I'm sure there are some complaints because as newly freshmen quickly learn, they're not used to sharing a room.
Yes, and that's the thing. We've got students from all over the country, first time away from mom and dad, first time sharing a room, and yeah, sometimes you just want to complain to someone for a little while.
Absolutely.
Then we also do tutoring. So our tutoring is we focus on peer mentors or peer tutors. So students who have been in the class, proven to be content experts, which means they also know they've been in the classes. So they know how the teachers teach. They know how they grade. So kind of like having an inside person into the class. And these are tutors who are specifically trained to work with students with learning differences. So their first step, number one, is to figure out how a student learns and then incorporate that into their tutoring. We do drop-in tutoring and we do scheduled tutoring. So a student can either make a one-off appointment for scheduled or have a standing appointment with a tutor for a certain subject to meet with every week. And it's unlimited tutoring. And then the last thing we focus on is educational technology. So helping students find apps that help them in the classroom, because there are so many things out there that trying to find what is actually going to assist rather than take up space in your phone is sometimes a challenge. So we help students find things like note-taking assistance, read aloud apps, speech recognition. That way it helps them better in and out of the classroom when they might not have their tutor available during the week. We also do wellness things like especially around finals and midterms when everyone's really stressful. We'll bring in therapy dogs. We've done brought in masseuses and acupuncturists. I was not in the building that day. I was so sad. And then we do community events like board game nights. And because again, our students are from around the country, first time away from home. Some of them struggle with that socialization piece. So we do board game nights. We do during the holiday season, they made gingerbread houses and they decorated ornaments. And that was all put on by our peer mentors who are current students here. And we also offer some therapy services for students who those bumps that come up in the road. So it is a lot of services.
It's a lot. And I'm
Yeah.
sure University of Arizona, do they have another building or another program that has like counseling and other health and wellness as well?
Yes. So they're called CAPS here at the university, which stands for Counseling and Psychological Services. So it is for the general campus. They also offer therapy and some counseling and direction as far as where to go in Tucson for additional assistance. The one that we offer is just specifically for our SALT students.
I'm sure it doesn't come with massages.
No, that one doesn't come with massages, unfortunately. But I think that's more the appeal of us.
Yes, I love that. Tell me, is there a diagnosis that is really difficult to support on campus? Are there any that stand out to you?
So I will say for SALT specifically, we do focus on the academic or like learning and attention challenges. So this isn't a disability, but if a student's like 504 or IEP focuses more around like emotions, so high anxiety or depression, we can't support those students, or we can if it's also paired with a learning difference. But that's kind of the we wouldn't be able to focus on students like that. They do also have to be within that mid to moderate learning difference. So if it is a much higher or lower functioning student who, lower functioning autism, lower functioning Down syndrome, they wouldn't fit with our program. Mostly looking at students who would not be able to live by themselves on campus,
Correct.
that wouldn't be a student we could support. But
Yeah.
aside from that, there's pretty much anything in the range of challenges we can support.
Because the goal is that student is coming in to get a degree, hopefully, and need the academic support to be able to not only be successful, but grow confidence, is what I imagine.
Yes.
And
Yes,
I've had
absolutely.
a lot of students who have actually come through the SALT Center, and they speak volumes on how it changed their lives, it built their confidence, and that, ultimately it was the best fit for them, even though the University of Arizona is so large. So tell me, what do you think makes that ideal student a great fit for the SALT Center?
They have to want to be here. They have to want to be invested in their education. The thing about their support specialist is going to go above and beyond to help them be successful. But they're not going to go to their dorms and be like, hey, you got to get up and go to class, or you got to come down to the SALT Center. The student has to make their first steps. They want to come to us and get that assistance. They have to want to go to class and get that degree. After that, the most ideal student that we're looking for it really is just comes down to someone who wants to be here and someone who can function on campus without someone taking them around.
Are they limited, to activities at the University of Arizona because they're enrolled also in SALT?
No, and that's the thing that I think is the biggest draw. So the really nice thing about the University of Arizona, so we are a large campus. We are a research one university. We've been involved in every single NASA mission since NASA's inception. We're Pac-12, or that's gonna change, but for now we're Pac-12.
They're all changing.
I know it's crazy. I'm not fully invested in sports, so I don't know what the change is yet. I have to figure that out so I can change my speech. But our students can be involved in literally everything. So we really like to emphasize that they're not SALT students who happen to be at the U of A campus. They are University of Arizona students who just happen to get support from the SALT Center. So they can be in our honors program. They can be involved in research in our very diverse science program. They can be in the med field. They just get assistance from us.
And you have to be obviously accepted into the University of Arizona, but you also have to apply and be accepted into the SALT Center.
You
So
do, yes.
can you just tell us a little bit about that process?
Oh yeah. So our application will open a student's September of their senior year, which is a month after the U of A's application. It's a really simple process. A student would go on to our site and click apply, and it comes down to they'll put in will upload any documentation they have, diagnoses, IEP 504, anything that shows the diagnoses, the challenges to learning, and the supports they're receiving. I will caveat that we do take undiagnosed students. We know that not every school can provide those tests and not every student can afford them. They're very expensive. So if a student doesn't have a diagnosis while they're going through their application, they would just want to put in what they believe that they struggle with and what supports they currently use. So after that, they're going to fill out a self-awareness survey that really gives us an idea of how comfortable they will be on campus, and it's a starting place for our support specialists. And they'll send in a response to a prompt, and it's just a response to like a 2 or 3 paragraph, nothing crazy, not a dissertation. Following that, that's all they have to do. So once they've applied, they go into a queue for us to review their application. They do have to be accepted to the U of A first, but after that, we review everything they submit. Sometimes we do ask for interviews or more information, and it's not a red flag. It's just that we want to get to know our students. They're not a number. And what we're seeing is a report, and we're seeing a response from them. And sometimes we just want to know a little bit more about them because they're not just a paper they submit. And so we might do that. And then we will let them know whether they've been accepted or not.
And y'all do get full. I mean, it's
we do. So we tend to fill up between April and May. So I would say a lot of people ask what would get a student denied, and I would say majority of the time is that they just apply too late. Um, because that college decision day is in April, we're tending to get closer to capacity in between. Honestly, it's actually between April and June, just depending. And I know this year is really, really weird because of financial aid and FAFSA. So we know that we're probably going to be extending more closer to June. But yeah, as we get into closer to the summer, we do tend to fill up.
I know, I think everything's going to be pushed because of the financial
Yes.
aid. Uh,
Which we're very aware of, and we have a lot of students asking questions about that and being like, I don't know where I'm standing. It's like, that's okay. No one knows where they're standing,
we
but
don't know.
yeah, you keep moving forward with your application, and we will do everything we can to communicate to you as soon as we know.
Are there any tips or things that you have seen that really do help with the shift from high school to college? I mean, I'm sure there are a ton, but maybe one or two that you can give our viewers so they can be thinking of that as they make this change.
Yeah, I number one is finding a place on campus. So finding, and it could be anything. So students will come here and they'll have their program. So if you're interested in the College of Science and any of the science degrees, there are peer mentors that you can touch base with. Your advisor is going to give you all sorts of information about groups that you can get involved with. Or if you're into sports, we have everything from collegiate sports to intramural sports. We pretty much any kind of sport you can think of, we have a club team for. Or just finding a club that you have an interest in. We have 550 clubs, anywhere from just like we have anything from just a broad like students who are interested in the students who happen to be at the University of Arizona from outside of the state. They have a club, all the way down to very specific things like we have an actuary club, which is like
Yeah.
statistics and insurance. So just finding a group to be involved with on campus, that's going to increase your success tenfold. And sometimes, so at least with the U of A, we have also several cultural centers. So we have Hispanic students, Asian Pacific, Black students, LGBT. So finding groups, just finding connection on campus is going to help you 100 times over. And we do club fairs, we do all sorts of things to get students involved at the beginning of the semester.
No, that's a great tip because it is connecting. It is
Yeah,
absolutely important. You cannot stay in your room and play video games. You have to,
no.
you have
And
to.
there's so much to do. And so that's my number one thing. My number two thing, and it kind of does connect to the first one, is find your advisor. Know who your advisor is, because number one, their whole job is that they want to see you graduate. So I myself as a student, I changed my major a couple times. I had no idea who my advisor was for like 2 years. And when I finally touched base, they were like, you could graduate next semester if you take one class. And I thought I had 2 semesters left. So it's like, this is the person who wants to get you that diploma and wants to help you find a job and find an internship and find research opportunities. And if you get to know them, they're going to go so much harder for you up to bat and like really focus on getting you the things that you want to do.
No,
So,
agreed. Absolutely agree. Tell me, is there any other that even compete with the SALT Center?
so we will see smaller colleges that really focus on that alternate the learning difference. So places like Landmark College come to mind. Um, I have not heard about a program that is similar to ours, unfortunately. And I will say I haven't spent enough time researching other schools to see what they offer. I know here in Arizona that the Arizona State University has a program. I think it's called SOAR, and I think it's closer to a disability resource center with some extra offers that. But aside from that, I don't know of anybody else who is doing what we're doing right now.
I honestly don't either. I know there are
Yeah.
a lot of smaller liberal arts programs that offer support, and there are other specialized institutions with support, but University of Arizona is very unique with the SALT Center. Brittany, this has been fantastic, and I know that the viewers are going to appreciate learning more about what the SALT Center offers and hearing everything that you have given us today. So I so appreciate it. But before we go, I'd love to ask you one question I ask all my great people that come in here. So
Sure.
tell me, what brings you the most joy? Where do you find joy in your day-to-day activities?
Wow. So I will say, number one, I have three dogs. They are I have a German Shepherd mix, a Labrador mix, and a Brittany Spaniel mix. That they're. I always say that I work hard so they get to have the best life. And so going home and getting to hang out with my three dogs is one of the biggest joys that I have ever. And after that, I really enjoy comic books. So I love reading and I like comic books and getting to go to and do nerdy things.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the time you spent with us today.
Thank you so much. This was an absolute pleasure. And yeah, I cannot thank you enough for having me on today.